Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Prometheus class. The Prometheus class attack cruiser, as we see here on the Daystrom website, we have a couple different tabs here. So, this is everything all together. So, we'll start off with everything together, and then we also have the MV multi vector mode. Getting through this, the overall length is going to be 415 meters with a beam of 163 meters and a height of 64 meters, giving it roughly about 15 decks. And it has a weight coming in at roughly 2,100,000 metric tons. Should be able to operate with a crew of 175. Armament, it's got 12 Type 12 phaser arrays with a total output of 60,000 terawatts, two pulse fires quantum torpedo tubes with 290 rounds, has regenerative shield system with a total capacity of 1,915,000 terajoules. We have a heavy duranium titanium double hull plus 18 centimeters of ablative armor, which is, a quite a bit heavier hull plating than what we typically see, and also has a high level structural integrity field. According to Daystrom, has a standard warp drive or warp cruise speed of warp 8. A maximum rated is 9.9, and max speed is untested as of yet at the time that this was uh, kind of created. Strength indexes in that, we have a beam firepower of 1,200. Keep in mind your Galaxy class is the 1,000, so that's our benchmark. Torpedo firepower is 1,350. Weapon range and accuracy is 1,175. Shield strength is 1,450. Hull armor is 3,100. Speed is just kind of left as an unknown because we do not know the uh, max rated speed as of yet. And combat maneuverability is going to be 3,250. Overall strength index puts it at roughly a 1,340. Diplomatic capability is going to be a 2. Expected whole life is guessing roughly about 84 years. A refit cycle for minor and standard is going to be every year, and a major every 12 years. Now, kind of throwing things out here, this is an attack cruiser compared to the Galaxy class, which really is an exploration vehicle. Yes, as a explorer class vessel, it should be able to kind of handle its own on most fights, but the reality is your explorers should not be your really frontline battle cruisers. We kind of think of them in those regards, but that's not really the role that they should be going into. So a ship like this should very easily, because it's streamlined and meant for combat, should be able to really outdo what a Galaxy class is capable of doing. So, getting into the write up, and as we can see, most of this is their own um, speculation, although we do have a little bit of canon source kind of brought in towards the bottom of our write up here. So, after the first major encounter between the Dominion and the Federation, and in the end of 2370, Starfleet responded to the new threat by reactivating the Defiant project and continuing development of the Sovereign project. However, it was felt that further action was needed. The Sovereign class ships were relatively resource intensive, and while the Defiants were easy to build, they were also rather limited on range and endurance. It was decided to combine various technologies into a new ship, the ablative armor and quantum torpedoes, which equipped the Defiant and Sovereign classes, were included as were the advanced hull geometry and warp field technology of the Sovereign and Intrepid classes. Starfleet also decided to incorporate the separation concept with a new vessel. Many Starfleet ships have had the ability to separate the primary hulls from the rest of the ship, but this was historically or has historically been for an emergency measure intended to allow the engineering hull to be abandoned in the event of a warp core breach. Reconnecting has generally required the service of a starbase or dry dock, in the process of which takes several days. With the Galaxy class, Starfleet took the separation process a step further. The primary and engineering hulls both had impulse engine systems, allowing them to separate as fully equipped um, STL spacecraft for their own flight. Um, the engineering hull was able to be use the warp drive while separated, not simply as an emergency measure for a few seconds or minutes, but as a viable interstellar drive system. The intent was to allow the primary hull to escape a combat area with the civilians and family members while the engineering hull kept the enemy occupied. However, this concept was never really a successful or as successful as Starfleet had really wanted. The primary hull was essentially stationary by warp drive standards, making it an easy target for enemy, which defeated the engineering hull in or after defeating the engineering hull in battle. Uh, what was needed was a ship which could split into multiple sections, each capable of independent warp speed travel. This was the technology Starfleet decided to incorporate into the Prometheus class. The ship, which emerged from the drawing boards, was capable of separating into three sections: the upper, the lower engineering hulls, and the saucer section. Both parts of the engineering hull had two nacelles, um, while the saucer section had a small auxiliary unit which would deploy once separated. The warp core arrangement was also unique. The efficiency of a warp core in is in part dependent on its height. The longer the core is, the more accurately the matter and antimatter streams can be controlled. Starfleet had initially wanted to equip each section of the Prometheus design with a Defiant style warp core. This is very uh, this is very compact at only 3 decks tall, but suffers from inefficiency as a result. It overcomes this by using multiple matter and antimatter streams, so achieving high fuel throughput and so high power output. This gives the core a high fuel consumption, something considered acceptable for the short range Defiant, but not for the Prometheus. To solve the problem, the designers came up with a new and unique core design for the engineering hull. The warp core has less than 3 reaction chambers along its height. During normal operation, um, matter is fed into the top of the core, the antimatter into the bottom. As in any normal warp core, the fuel streams pass directly through the upper and lower reaction chambers and continue down through their meeting point to the central chamber. The core thus operates in a manner similar to any standard model, achieving high efficiency through the long core design. The central reaction chamber lies on the separation plane, and once the ship splits, it is shut down. In the lower engineering section, a secondary matter feed just under the central chamber comes into operation, feeding uranium down into the lower reaction core. This process is mirrored by the upper engineering section with an antimatter feed sending fuel up to the upper core. As a result, the combined engineering sections can operate at an efficiency level compared to the contemporary Starship, while the separated sections lose a measure of efficiency because of the shorter warp cores. The primary hull operates on a separate Defiant style warp core when separated. Okay. The original intent was to have the saucer serve to evacuate civilians as uh, as in the same separation system the Galaxy class would also employ, but at warp speed. The idea of carrying civilians to quickly abandon, however, and the saucer section upgunned to match the remainder of the vessel in separated mode. The ship is thus able to attack an enemy from 3 different directions simultaneously, a tactic known as a multi-vector assault mode. The development of and construction of the prototype vessel took 3 years, and the USS Prometheus was launched in April of 2374. The ship included all of the latest systems, including holographic projectors on every deck, so as to facilitate operations of the EMH and other such holographic supplements planned to come into service in the future. Initial trials went well, but during the shakedown cruise, the Prometheus was stolen by Romulan operatives intent on handing the ship over to the Tal Shiar. The power of the Prometheus was graphically demonstrated during the incident. Although the prototype was still in the test phase, she was able to inflict devastating damage to a Nebula class ship and withstand a combined attack by 2 Defiant class escort vessels and an Akira class cruiser. In the same battle, she used multi-vector assault mode to destroy a Romulan warbird with ease. The ship was eventually recovered with the assistance of 2 EMH units on board. And after some assessment of the project's security procedures and testing resumed. The performance of the Prometheus during the accidental live fire trial has exceeded all expectations for the ship. The ability to pack firepower, little short of a sovereign class, into a ship the size of an Intrepid class offers the prospect of a prodigious increase in Starfleet's potential combat capability. All right, so that's it in a nutshell. Let's look at the multi-vector mode. So this is just the one built. Again, we only have a length of, this is the top. So we have a length of 236 meters, a beam of 163 meters, and a height of 64 meters, giving it 15 decks. Let's see. We have a mass of 478,000 metric tons. The crew is still being listed as 175. Armament of 18 uh, Type 12 phaser arrays, still with the 90,000 terawatt output. 5 pulse fire quantum torpedo tubes with 290 rounds. Still the same regenerative shields with 3,915,000 terajoules, heavy duranium titanium hull. Same, looks like everything that we've had here before, but this is just the top. So I don't know what else we have here. Just kind of, it's like we have everything mirrored from what we have, but nothing else is really listed. We do have a couple images that are kind of shown here on Daystrom. It is a nice looking ship. I'm not going to knock it on the looks of it. I just do remember hearing that originally I think they wanted like 5 or 7 different separations, which they just could not quite pull off in the models section because this was still done with models alone. So they had kind of settled with only 3 sections instead of doing the 5 or 7. We have internals from what they had kind of reworked for the ship here. Size comparisons, trying to compare it to like a Griffin here. And we'll get back to our base. So with that, let's kind of transfer on over to our D6 specs and the write-up that we have from D6 Holocron. All right, so looking at what D6 Holocron has given us, this is considered a cruiser by their standards. Actually, they have it listed as a heavy cruiser. All right, capital scale. Length is 418 meters long, 173 meters wide, and 78 meters tall, coming in at a mass of 2,100,000 metric tons. This is listed as a size 7 starship. Let's see, it does have an autopilot of 4D plus 1, so quite a bit better than our galactic standard. Has a overall crew of 655, a skeleton crew of 66, with a plus 10 to uh, all skill rolls regarding everything going on. Let's see, for passengers, it can carry about 120 passengers and carry 100,000 metric tons of cargo. We do have enough consumables on board for 1 year. Their standard warp drive speed would be warp 6. A maximum rated or max warp speed is 9.2, and max rated is being listed as 9.982 for 12 hours. We do have a nav computer on board, which is always fitting for Star Trek vessels. Maneuverability is a 2D plus 2. Space speed is a 9.5, and hull is 6D plus 2. Pretty resilient. It also has ablative armor, which adds another 1D plus 2 to the hull. Shields is at 3D plus 2. Our sensor packet gives us passive scanning out to 6 kilometers at a 2D bonus, an active scan out to 13 kilometers at a 2D plus 2 bonus, an active search out to 17 kilometers at a 3D plus 2 bonus, and a focus of 500 meters at a 4D plus 1. Now they have it listed for having 5 Type 10 phaser arrays. Let's see, we have 180 degree dorsal, 180 degree dorsal starboard, dorsal port, and 2 360 degree ventral aft, dorsal starboard. Let's see. This gives us a fire control of 2D and a fire rate of 3 for a 4D damage. We also have another Type 10 phaser array, which is on the dorsal for 180 degrees. This is middle of the dorsal section, concealed when sections are joined. Let's see, this is a 2D plus 2 fire control. Fire rate is 2, and damage is 4D. Now we have 12 Type 10 phaser arrays, and this is 1 aft starboard, 1 aft port, 2 dorsal, concealed when sections are joined, middle, concealed when sections are joined, 1 starboard, 1 port, bottom, 1 dorsal, concealed when sections are joined, 2 ventral starboard, 2 ventral port, and 1 aft starboard, 1 aft port. Crew of 1. Let's see. Fire control is 2D plus 2. Fire rate is 1 and a damage of 4D. Now, we do have 3 photon torpedo launchers. Let's see. This is aft, but are self-guided. Now, top aft, concealed when they're joined. Middle, forward dorsal, concealed when joined. And bottom aft. The only one able of firing when everything is all joined up. All right, and that's got a fire control of 2D plus 2. has a spread of 10 with 120 Type 2 photon torpedoes and a damage of 4D. Also has 3 quantum torpedo launchers. Now these are forward, top forward, middle forward, and bottom forward. Although the middle and bottom are concealed when they're joined, fire control again is going to be a 2D plus 2. We do have a 120 Mark 1 quantum uh, torpedoes on board with a spread of 10. Damage is 8D. We also have 3 Class Delta tractor beams, 2 forward, 1 aft. Strength is going to be a 4D plus 2. Let's see, we also have a tractor beam for the shuttle bay. That's a class Alpha. Has a strength of 1D. All the miscellaneous stuff here. So, crew quarters, top, middle, and bottom. So, just kind of covering the top here to start with. We have 180 for basic, 20 for expanded, 8 for luxury, and 2 unusual. Our middle, we have 180 for basic, uh, 20 for expanded, 8 for luxury, and 2 for unusual. And our bottom is 100 or 270 for basic, 30 for expanded, 12 for luxury, and 3 for unusual. We do have 16 decks total. We have 160 escape pods with 4 personnel in each pod, and this is commissioned in 2374 by Earth Reckoning. We do have 3 transporters, 1 per section, for a capacity of 6 personnel. We have 3 emergency transporters, 1 per section, that can carry up to 22 persons. We have 3 cargo transporters, 1 per section, with a 400 kilogram capacity. Now, complements for shuttlecraft, we have 2 shuttlecraft and 2 shuttle pods, and we do have 60 probes. Now, multi-vector attack mode. The top hull section should have a 2D for hull, and maneuverability is 2D plus 2. The middle section would have a 2D for the hull. Maneuverability is 2D plus 2. The bottom section has a 2D plus 2 hull, and maneuverability is 2D plus 1. Now, the write-up that we have from D6 Holocron, the Prometheus class was a Federation advanced escort starship developed for tactical operations in deep space. The Prometheus class entered service in the year 2374. Its main feature is the multi-vector assault mode, which allowed the Prometheus class escort to split into 3 warp-capable, combat-ready sections: Alpha, Beta, and Gamma. By the early 25th century, the design had spawned several subclasses. In a possible future, the Prometheus class remained in service well into the 20th century, or 26th century. Now, that comes from Voyager episode Message in a Bottle, Star Trek Online, Klingon War, Mission Welcome to Earth Space Dock, Enterprise episode Azanti Prime. History-wise, the Prometheus class was one of several starship designs, along with the Sovereign and Defiant classes, that were created in response to the Borg threat following the USS Enterprise D's encounter with the Borg cube in System J25 in 2365. Starfleet Tactical's task was to design a ship that could be fast, maneuverable, and equipped with the latest weaponry that was being designed to fight the Borg. However, none of the new designs or weapons were ready for the Borg attack in 2366, which resulted in the destruction of 39 ships and the loss of 11,000 lives. This created a new sense of urgency in getting better equipped starships up and running in the fleet. While the Sovereign and Defiant classes entered the service in around 2371, the launch and testing of the USS Prometheus was put back until 2374. The initial trials of the Prometheus went well until she was hijacked by a group of Romulans keen on taking the Prometheus to the Tal Shiar so they could learn the latest starship secrets. While the crew were killed by the Romulans, they were prevented in keeping the Prometheus by the starship's emergency medical hologram and doctor from the USS Voyager, Voyager episode Message in a Bottle. After the safe return of the Prometheus and the testing of the ship's multi-vector assault mode were completed, Starfleet rushed the construction of two further vessels, the USS Cerberus and USS Hercules. Both of these vessels were in service by late 2375, and the Cerberus served as Admiral William Ross's flagship in 2376 to 2379. This comes from Deep Space Nine, Avatar novel, Avatar Book 1, The Next Generation, A Time to a novel, A Time for War, A Time for Peace. The Prometheus class was still in service in 2409, and by that time had inspired two variant classes, Phoenix class and Sirius class. Some of these ships were fitted with 4 pulse phaser cannons, Star Trek video game, Star Trek Online. Specifications: the Prometheus class was a classified advanced tactical cruiser. It was a revolutionary design that had the ability to confront the enemy from multiple warp-capable vectors for a formidable surprise attack. One innovation was incorporated in the design was the installation of hollow emitters that were outfitted throughout the ship, allowing the EMH Mark II Doctor to project itself holographically across the ship, allowing it to tend to the crew without being restricted to just the sickbay. Subclasses: by the early 25th century, the Starfleet Corps of Engineers had developed sister classes to the Prometheus. These classes of the Prometheus were collectively categorized as advanced escort, with several refit and retrofit options. Furthermore, all advanced escorts were modular, and their components were interchangeable between these classes. In addition to the active Prometheus, Phoenix, and Cerberus classes, Starfleet introduced the Hephaestus class. I think I'm saying it correctly. If I'm butchering it, I do apologize. In 2409, this is from Star Trek Online, Klingon War Mission, Welcome to Earth Space Dock. Livery: in the 25th century, the design for the Prometheus class advanced escort allowed its commanding officer to choose from different designs of livery, which could be modified further at starbases. These options were integrated type 1 through 5 and veteran Star Trek Online, Klingon War Mission, Welcome to Earth Space Dock. Furthermore, the installation of deflector shields from specific functions or factions modified the whole appearance, including shields from Riemann Resistance, Breen Confederacy, and the Dominion. And of course, this is all from Star Trek Online. It's a great write-up. It's an interesting ship. The design and the thought process does take the separation that we did see originally from the Galaxy class into a more combat sense in a lot of regards. And I'm not going to knock that. At least for a prototype to say, hey, is this a viable option? Is this something that we can use? Sure. In the long term, is it really worth it or not? Who's to say? Everyone's going to have their own views on this. I think in some regards, I like the the idea of it. I like the initial design more so than it just separating into all these ships. But that's my take on it. Um, and I know I'm just one person out of many people, and that's all it really is just one person's view of it. So take it for what it is. Take it with a grain of salt. Uh, I know there's a lot of people that like this class, and it's spawned a lot of other fan created starships doing similar things. Um, I'm just kind of a stickler for smaller single purpose ships or whatever. Um, and that's just and I've said that before. But for a ship like this and the ideas, it is a wonderful idea, a nice way to take that separation system and try and expand on it for a escort and a tactical sense of how can we really expand on something here. So with that being said, it is a wonderful ship design to really just throw out a good, it's a good idea. You know, the good, the bad, the whatever, it's a good idea. Um, it's just that I'm not a big fan of these because it gets a little bit of a mess, but that's my take. And, I can be in a minority on that one. And I know that there's a ton of people that really love them. So with that being said, thank you so very much for joining me today. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next video.